All right, welcome back to episode 72 on the Next Door Neighbors podcast. This is an episode of raspy voices, lots of coughing, lots of mood altering substance. No, I'm kidding, none of those.
Maybe later in the episode.
This one is fresh off the presses for you guys. We're gonna call this one a Alex got macaroni. Alex tested positive for macaroni. It's been 14 days now. No, 12 days.
Since what?
Since I had my symptoms.
Really?
I think it's been 12 days. Everything, it started out, well, everything right now feels like 12 days in. And by the way, I got the official stuff. I got the PCR. I got the nasal swab and all that jazz.
And it was confirmed.
Passing all my tests.
Positive all around.
I'm just good. I'm getting pluses on all my tests. And I feel today actually fine. The only thing that's been really lingering is fatigue. But my voice sounds like I have been at a rock concert for...
And your voice has been like that since the beginning.
I think it's me just going through puberty all over again.
Probably.
Just, my voice maybe has never really dropped, and this is its time. This is its time. So it's happening. Big things are happening.
Yeah, I feel like you lost your voice, or you had the scratchy voice since the beginning.
That was my very first symptom. That was my very first 12 days ago. My first symptom that I had was we were on the couch watching TV, and then all of a sudden, like in the evening, I was like, my throat's getting scratchier and scratchier. And we were watching Apollo 11, and I was like, you know what I want? I want something
It was Apollo 13, but whatever.
Okay, what happened to Apollo 11 then?
Apollo 11 is...
I'll be very impressed.
Isn't the one that didn't even make it off the ground or something?
Yeah, I believe that's... No, I think it's Apollo 12 that didn't make it off the ground.
Okay.
Apollo 11 is what went to the moon. I'm going to look it
up. Is Apollo 11 the one that... Oh, it is the one that went to the moon, yeah.
Yeah, 11 went to the moon, 12 is the one that had the accident, and 13 is their try again.
Wow, I can't believe I didn't know that. It was Apollo 11, duh. But we watched Apollo 13.
Also, don't be like, duh. Like, that's not a known fact that
I feel like it is a known... It should be a known fact. Apollo 11 is the one that made it to the moon, allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, I'm glad you threw that one in there, because that's very important.
It's always got to be put in there.
You throw some air quotes in the air.
Wait till we have an episode about the moon landing, you guys. It's going to happen.
How much do you know or not know about the moon landing? That's what I'm more curious about.
Everything I've heard from you.
Hey, let me be... Okay, I was always curious with you about this. You hear me spitting off a lot of I'm not good at teaching people, but I'm good at reciting information that I just recently learned, right? Especially when it's fresh in my head. So because I constantly do that, and a lot of them are kind of like out there things, like whether or not, moon landing, other conspiracy theories, aliens, human psychology that perhaps went against like some of our upbringing, stuff like that. Do you ever go like, what's your perspective? Are you like, okay, this dude's out there and he needs to like reel it in, or are you like, whatever, he's
I think in the beginning I was like, you're saying a lot of things.
Was it the alien stuff? It was the alien stuff.
No, because I've already been on I've been hearing about alien stuff for much longer than like you started talking about it. And then I watched some weird alien movies, or they were like pretend documentaries when I was little. So I've always been convinced there was aliens.
Okay.
No, I think it was like kind of when you started listening to podcasts a lot more, and you would say these like random things. I think it was like the stuff that got me the most was like when you were talking about like the psychedelics and stuff like that. I'd be like, ugh. But
what did I ever say by psychedelics?
No, not like you were just talking about people on them and like all the experiences.
Oh, like that. Interdimensional beings.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's weird to me, but it makes sense why people would experience that while on that drug.
Right.
But
do you know why that idea was like why it caught my attention?
Why?
And it's because it's one thing if all we have ever known about psychedelic experiences were just like you see whatever your heart's desire, right? Some people will see purple rainbows, other people will see elephants, and melting glass, all this stuff. But what's weird is when you hear people, again, you hear the super podcasts of other people hearing studies that they did and whatnot, of like large groups of people taking the same psychedelic, like 10 people in a group setting, with a shaman, right? Because, you know, there's certain traditions, cultures practice kind of stuff, like South America.
Right.
Ayahuasca, that's what one of the things they do. It's a plant, it's an herb that they ferment like a tea, and you have a psychedelic experience through it. And they'll do it as a group. And that there have been these accounts about these groups seeing the same thing.
That's weird.
So that's the part that's weird. Because it's one thing if you're like,
your brain, is like, how can people's brains be seeing the exact same thing when we're all wired so differently?
Correct. So they're talking about,
crazy.
these gnomes, these elves, and but they're calling them like these interdimensional beings. That's what they call them. And anywho, that's the only reason that part was so fascinating, because you're like, why would one person can smoke weed and have paranoia, and another person can smoke weed and be kind of like lay back and relaxed, right? So like that's understandable. But the psychedelic part is the one thing of, you know, besides you have people like Alex, what's his last name? Alex Jones. Look how Kyle just lit up. His face just lit up. Alex Jones from InfoWars, which he's a kooky dude who's way out there in this world when it comes to like conspiracy theories, and really, really crazy person. Got a lot of things wrong, like the Sandy Hook shooting. He said that it was all staged. These are all actors and stuff like that. He was dead wrong on that. But he also said a lot of stuff specifically involving government that came to be true. Like what was it, late 90s, I think 96, 97, he came out with this whole thing saying there's these government elitists that are, in these woods, and they're sacrificing children and all this stuff. And then like 20 years later, it comes out to be true that there is the what's the woods called? Bohemian Grove. I'm not the only Bohemian Grove, and like that came out to be true, and Epstein's there, and all these like JF Kennedy, like there's all these elites that were there, and so there's a lot of things. And then they're talking about, there's this island where, again, 20 years ago, he's talking about like 10 years ago, there's this island, and the elites are taking these underage girls and sleeping with them to compromise them, and you're like, dude, that's wacky stuff. 10 years later, they found out Epstein's Island, that you have, Bill Clinton, who's been seen with him like 27 times on the airplane. Like you got all this stuff so there's a lot of things he says that was wrong, but there's also a lot of stuff they're saying that's right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the whole interdimensional beings and stuff like that was him. He's saying like the government's practicing all these psychedelic trials, and in fact in the late 60s,
but for what reason?
I don't know. In the late 60s, early 70s, even they were doing these trials. It was called Operation Midnight Climax, where they would dose LSD to these guys at brothels. So these prostitutes would dose the drinks with LSD, and the CIA would actually watch through a double-sided mirror to see how the LSD affected these people. So
I wonder what they're experimenting for.
Well,
like,
right.
What's the
right? So
purpose?
Okay, I guess that is the whole, like, that's why conspiracy theories are fun. It's because there's a level of truthness to it, and then there's a level of falseness or untruth. What's the word? God. And so that's the part that you go,
fake news? Is that what you're saying?
Not fake news, but like just like false information. And so that's when it becomes very interesting when you go, that's fake, discredit that person. But that person also came out with these other kooky things that nobody believed to be true, and then they came out to be true. So again, reeling this all back in, you said that freaked you out. I was like, wow, he's saying a lot of things about psychedelics. Not that I ever want to even take psychedelics, but they're doing all these things, and there's these accounts, but then you're seeing government intervention with it, secret government intervention.
I think this is the reason people love conspiracy theories, is because it's so wacky, interesting, but like there's always some weird level of truth, or like something that could be true, and people just like attached to that certain piece of information and just like go with it. I think the reason, like, I don't find you weird about it.
Why don't you tell us all why
I do find you weird.
Okay.
But it never like freaked me out, because you talk about it all the time, the conspiracy theories, or like something you learned, but you're the type of person that you'll like say it,
but nothing changes about my life.
Yes, you're the same. And you'll like say it, but then you'll like say something else that contradicts that, because you're just kind of like figuring out,
these are ideas.
Like they're just and I don't think you believe a lot of it yourself either.
Right.
So it's like, I could tell. Yeah.
Well, there's also a small section of it that I do believe.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I believe that there is a lot of collusion that has happened throughout human time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, and I don't know if it's an immigrant mindset or whatever. No, it can't be an immigrant mindset because everybody has this. I think people have this perspective of like the government is there to protect us and only be truthful with us, right? That's what I've always believed. But
then, we're taught to believe that.
Well, yeah, the government's authority, right? The police are all good,
right?
And I mean,
especially
I think
in school,
I think overall police are good, but but there are some bad people, right? That shouldn't be police officers. But you're brought up saying that there is, there's good and evil in this world, and the police, the government, they're all good. And evil is everything outside of that that's trying to interject. Evil is ISIS. Evil is the devil. Evil is the robbers, the carjackers, the drug lords, right?
Yeah.
But then, as in the last 30 years, was it 20 years that we have the internet now? In the last 20 years that we have the internet now, there's now this wave of like information that people could share between one another, and facts and obviously false information as well. But now there's this database of sharing, real life sharing. And
we can look up anything.
You can look up anything.
Right, yeah.
And records can now be released versus before everything is like there's like one book or one record keeping thing. And so now it's almost like a free game. So now a lot of stuff that we thought was true in terms of like somebody's innocent or somebody's not is now coming forward where you're like, oh, wow. Why are there's reports of the Clintons being involved in drug trafficking? Why is there reports of Epstein and people like Bill Gates on, working together on allegedly sex islands? All this stuff is now coming out. What is it, Nancy Pelosi?
Because people are deep diving into this stuff versus before.
Nancy Pelosi just came out. They just found out that she's been having like insider trading information on like her companies, but her husband's betting on them. You know what I mean? Like stocks. So like he's pulling, putting money in or taking money out based off of what she's saying that her company is going to do.
It's so easy to get caught. That's the thing nowadays.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons I was thinking about. There's still like murders and like killing that goes on, but have you like noticed there's not serial killers anymore because they would get caught immediately. I think
that's a good point. I actually never thought about that.
Like you don't hear it. You're hearing of people getting caught 20 years later that were the serial killers, like the Golden Gate killer.
Yeah,
is that what it was? Yeah, he got caught like 40, 50, how many years later? And because of DNA testing that's available now that wasn't available then. But if you think about it, yeah, like right now, with cameras, with the DNA testing, with everything that's going on, a person wouldn't make it very far, even if they wanted to.
That's a really great point. I never thought about it, that there are no modern day serial killers. Are you trying to call for... like, let's make serial killers great again? Is that what you're trying to do right now? This is strange.
No, I was just thinking about that sometimes when I listen to my true crime, which I actually haven't listened to in a really long time.
I'm fascinated because and for the majority
and that's
of the
my
gals,
kind of like conspiracy theory.
So that's
genre.
why that's the part that actually I'm surprised that you don't show, which is natural that you don't show this because I think it's primarily like guys that are in this. But you don't show interest in conspiracy theories as much as I do. But what's interesting is you're so deep into these murder mysteries, and
I don't like the unknown. That's why
you want to be a resolution.
I like one of the reasons. Well, some of the true crime stories that I listen to, the killer's never found or they don't know who did it. But a lot of times my favorite ones are the ones where it has like you find out who it is and it's almost like the story of this happened because the whole time you're like I bet it's this person or I bet it's this person, and then like they like will wrap it up and be like, oh, it was like this person you would have never known. And I like it to have like closure, and when I don't know, when it's like an unknown, it bothers me. And that's the reason I think I enjoy a good conspiracy theory, but I don't let my mind linger in it because I will just be going down this like rabbit hole and my mind will not stop spinning. about it.
Yeah, no, I get it. And
so I have to like reel it in and just be like, okay, cool, move on.
Now, do you kind of go, okay, cool, move on, and then go like, I'm gonna go back to what I thought reality, what my little reality was, or do you adjust a little bit of your perspective?
I think
of humanity and
yeah,
the
I
world?
think definitely adjusting and knowing, being like open to, I mean, finding out like, I don't know, truth is such a like subjective term, right? Anyway, but I think it depends on what it is. Like obviously with the government stuff, like I don't even think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's just the more you dive into like politics and that kind of stuff, the more you realize, yeah, there's just bad people in the world and everybody's basically out to like protect themselves, and
Right,
we're all
self-gain and
selfish,
protect.
people.
Sure. But don't you get like so intrigued that it's a president or it's somebody in Congress, and you know what I mean, like
that kind of stuff I do.
And then you go, if
find that
that's
interesting.
true,
yeah.
Like right now, I was telling
I
Kyle
guess
today.
I'm talking about more like far-fetched conspiracy theories, like aliens.
Okay,
and
well, where does it go from far-fetched? Because you got like when I was talking today with Kyle about that, there is some video footage right now released with Ted Cruz testifying against an FBI. What do they call them? A representative or FBI about?
Agent?
I don't know if they're. I'm sure they're an agent, but who they are, like a main spokesperson for the FBI, I guess.
Yeah.
And Ted Cruz is holding to a stand of this FBI person saying whether or not there's proof of allegedly of FBI being involved in orchestrating the January 6th Capitol riot or break-in, whatever you want to call it. And they're bringing all these like evidence from like the day before and every, I didn't watch it like the completely through, but
well, that's interesting.
So like that's to me is like one of those things, like if this little nugget of information is true about something that sounded so far-fetched and preposterous, what else could there be?
Well, what I mean is like, I mean, that sounds, far-fetched, but it's like humans doing this kind of stuff.
Sure.
I think for me, I guess the conspiracy theories are sometimes like the earth is flat kind of stuff where you're like, Yeah. But it really is flat, so. I believe it.
I just want to clear things up.
Because there's a documentary, so it's true.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess to me, I'm always blown away by the idea that there's collusion.
Yeah.
And
I think for you're fascinated by it because I don't know if it's like moving to a country where you're like, it's freedom. That's the reason we moved to the United States, and you guys too, freedom and medical, stuff.
Sure.
And so when you move here, you think these people are going to like protect me, and everybody's, out for like, the government's there to protect us. And then you live your whole life thinking that. And then I think for you're like starting to realize that people are there's bad people everywhere. Yeah,
it's
and I think you be more aware of that in the last what would you say?
I think I've been really kind of into this in the last maybe 4 years.
Yeah, so I think that's why you're so fascinated by it. And then it kind of it's like a snowball. It kind of goes into, or not snowball, but what is it, like a rabbit trail, I guess. You start learning other things that you find interesting about things you've never known, like whatever you want to call them, conspiracies. But
well, I mean, we can't call everything a conspiracy, like by just like learning something about something is not really a conspiracy.
No, that's why I put it in air quotes.
Right. You mean me learning about intermittent fasting is not a conspiracy?
No, I'm talking about, never mind. I was talking more about like the stuff you're learning that is more like conspiracies.
I'm not all balls deep into conspiracies. Like,
I know you're not.
It's
I think I like it. I think I like that. I mean, you're just in the broad sense of it, you're just gaining knowledge about everything around you.
I like exchanging ideas.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is my upbringing, and I'm sure your upbringing, especially when it's a religious upbringing, you're taught to have certain type of ideas, and those ideas are instilled onto you, right? So those ideas were never created for yourself, right? Whether it's the government or whether it's the way you view the world, right? The way you view time. And so because whenever somebody questioned any ideas, it was always like a nervous thing. Be like, whoa. We're all believing the same thing though, right? Like, well, and so when somebody deviated and just explored another idea, that was very frowned upon. And so I think to me I'm really enjoying the idea of sharing ideas and exchanging ideas and understanding those ideas they're not me. They're just things, right? Because
they're not necessarily something you full-heartedly believe in, or
you can't hold them so true that it destroys relationships, that it destroys opportunities, that it directs you a certain place. Those ideas are not you. They're just a thing. That's all that is. It's like with our kids right now, we can instill certain types of ideologies onto them, and then they'll carry that until one day they develop their own ideologies, right? Again, those are not their ideas that was put onto them. And so I guess being able to grab something, explore it, and then send it off into the ether is a completely normal thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm enjoying it, for me to go have a conversation and be like, hey, what about this thing that the government is showing that they were involved in a psychedelic trial, an experiment? Okay. And what about these reports that they're saying that people are having the same psychedelic experiences? That's kind of weird, huh? And then there's like people go, well, what are you saying? You're kind of out there. You're saying a lot of stuff. Kind of like that's the way you kind of phrase it. You're saying a lot of stuff. But there's other people who go like, how much of that is true and how much of that is not true? And I think that's the part that is fun to explore.
It,
because to one degree, something is going to be true, but
so with you, when you come across this information or hear it or whatever, what's your process like? Do you like absorb it and take it in and like think about it for a long time, or do you tend to just like, oh, that's interesting, and then like leave it there and maybe like think about it some other time again? Or do you go like research it?
No, I hear it, and I only give it any attention when there are articles that you can bring up to prove some kind of registry of this thing, right? Not necessarily somebody going on Wikipedia and writing
some sort of like fact.
Yeah, like you'd be like, did you know there is these declassified government documents of the government? What's the one on this YouTube channel, Bright Insight, that I was watching, where they were trying to, I think, some kind of government involvement in like the pyramids or something archaeological like that, and all of a sudden there's files that are declassified, right? So when it's an official government document of proving something like that, right, or at least an involvement of something like that, that makes me go, huh. Now, even though I didn't read that entire document, somebody's paraphrasing that, here's this document, look it up, and you might look it up, you might not. By knowing that there's an official government document, I go, huh, that's not just a campfire story. And then it kind of sits in the back of my head, and then I hear somebody else talk about it, and then maybe I'll watch a YouTube video or something like that. I don't even ever really go that far. But then I don't go so into it. Like, I don't have time to go researching stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I will sometimes. If I find something super interesting, I will actually either right then or later like Google that whole thing and see like the facts or the information about it. Like prime example, we were watching Apollo 13 and you asked me, and I remember this was like a true story, and you asked me like, did this really happen? And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't sure if they like in the movie changed some things and made it like more dramatic or like what happened. So, and then I also don't remember when we started the movie like what actually happened, if anybody died or not. And so I like looked it up because I was really interested in understanding like what the truth was behind the story. But some stuff I hear it and I just like, I'm like, cool, but I just don't like, I kind of like let it go. And I wonder if it's just my like, what is it? I guess now I'm like trying to pick it apart. What is it that makes me interested in like researching that topic or whatever that is?
What makes you interested? I think you do like to get to the bottom. I mean, when you're interested in, because you were researching that Apollo 13, right? Mm-hmm. But then you're also,
and then we were like watching a show.
But you also, well, Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
we're talking about when was the Great Depression?
Oh yeah, that's right. Things like that. But we were like, actually, really want to know that.
Now, by you Googling something real quick of like, to read one line, it's not really. Can you really call that research? You just got to kind of look.
I will call it research. Yes, I will.
Do you do some like, if unless you're going out of your way to find multiple sourced articles or something like that,
right?
That's
not
research.
Not just Wikipedia.
By you Googling one quick thing to read one quick line and just to give you that idea of what really, what the story behind the thing was, that's not research. That's you just kind of looking it up.
That's still research.
That's not research.
Because you are looking something up for your information.
If that's the case, I am a researcher. I think I have, like you're asking me what my thought process is. I think I have a backyard, like the same way you would have a scrap pile of be like, I don't want to throw this stuff away because I might use the wheels off of that for something else. Mm-hmm. I think I have like a scrap pile backyard where I hear what people say, and as long as there are some documentation approving it or some kind of thing, I'll keep it there and I'll get to it. And maybe like I'll stumble across a YouTube video and then there'll be another research scientist that I'll listen to or another podcast that I'll listen to help me kind of go back to that idea. But I don't throw everything out, I guess, to me. Like there's some preposterous conspiracy theories, like they said like lizard people, right? Like, and how
you don't throw that out.
That one is
that one's close.
Well, no, they're calling about it as like people who like this is weird. I don't know enough about it, but
you know what? I've actually heard.
Say it's true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look it up. No, I've heard of it. People take like some kind of
lizard people is when people are able to like shift faces or something like that.
Oh, like the shapeshifter or no?
Something like that. I've literally never heard anything more than like one liner about it. But there's just, it's stuff like, I don't throw everything out unless like, to me it's fun to like look it up, a quick Google. But it doesn't change me in terms of like, I'm not sitting with a tinfoil hat anywhere. It just makes conversations for me so much more fun with other people when I hear little like addition to what they heard about it.
Yeah.
And then, nothing stands. Like nothing about my life changes. But the one thing is always true is the human collusion with information. That's the part that to me always is the only thing that's very true, right? Like, let's say, like I don't believe the Earth's flat, but let's say the Earth is flat.
It is. Yeah.
It is flat. Or the moon landing. Here's a great one, right? Because or the JFK assassination. Assassination is a huge one right now. In fact, because
right now? It's always been.
No, it's even more huge right now because the guy who was writing a book on it, I forgot his name, but he had just tremendous amount of problems trying to get it published, and he kept getting defunded. And the more he started reading about it, the more he started bringing up proof of the JFK assassination and allegedly like who did kill him. Like there was like 3 bullets, 3 shooters. They found
I've heard that before.
In the gurney. There's the bullet, but there's more and more information that's being released. In fact, Biden was supposed to release the JFK files, the classified stuff, and
to prove that it was
just public because everything can be declassified. And he promised that, I guess. But now he like postponed it. So you go, why are you postponing it? Because they're showing proof of, from what I hear, the CIA's involvement in it and the mobs involved in it and a couple of other major kind of corporations and industries that are involved in it.
Can you imagine like the movies that will come from that?
Of course. But again, going back to even something as innocent of a conspiracy theory as that, where like that the government's involvement in assassination of a president,
it's crazy.
So that's the part is like humans getting in the way of what the truth is and manipulating it and then spinning a different story. And then we just kind of believe whatever comes out of it.
Interesting.
But anyways, enough about you. Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the episode and thank the sponsors of today's podcast. I don't know about you when it comes to saving money. I love to do it where I can. It's very important to me, especially after the holidays. One of the best ways to do that is making repairs around your house. I know DIY can be intimidating at first, but when you use products you can trust, you can get projects done fast and affordably, especially when you use Flex Seal. I can tell you from personal experience, if you need to winterize your home for the winter, there's no better or faster way than Flex Seal. They aren't kidding about it being a handyman in a can. It really, really is. Flex Seal will spray out a thick liquid, seep into the cracks and holes, and dry to a watertight, flexible rubberized coating that'll seal, protect, and stops leaks fast. So, don't just use any old product out there to make repairs in or outside your home. Use products you can trust. Use Flex Seal. So here's what you're going to do. Head over to their website, getflexseal.com. That's www.getflexseal.com to order your handyman in a can today. Now let's get back into this episode. I have a raspy voice. I had my symptoms 12 days ago. Had a major headache for about 2 days. And then I've been fatigued ever since then. And I feel like today was the first day that I don't feel as fatigued because I keep working out in the morning. It doesn't help. Like, I'm very bad at like resting.
Yeah, you are. So are they saying, because I know the whole rule is like the 5 days. Is it 5 days since your symptoms start that you're supposed to like quarantine? Or is it...
That's what I would imagine it.
5 days after you test? Because it's like, obviously you're not, like you're still having your symptoms, but you're not really like sick anymore.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But I guess that's how it is with a cold. Sometimes you have a cough for like a month after.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, I built a lot of stuff during being sick. I think I was in bed for 2 days. And then after that, I was back on it. And then you got it. And then...
Yeah.
And then
mine was not as bad as yours though.
Yeah, but for some reason the way we were acting between you and I it was the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. I think it's the headache that really got me. Like, I'm not used to having an all day headache like that. And so that's what I think
you and I are not good. You and I don't
sick.
fight. No, yeah, we don't fight. We're pretty civilized and we laugh a lot. But
civilized?
We're pretty civilized.
We like each other. You can say that.
Well, civilized is just like respectful to each other. You know what I mean? Like, but yes, we do like each other. But when it comes to being sick, there's no boundaries.
No compassion.
There's no compassion.
Especially you.
Especially me, but also I noticed with you too. Like this is so unlike you because ever since we were married, you're always very compassionate towards me.
That's
being
not
sick.
True. I made you soup and a turkey grilled cheese sandwich.
Perfect. That's great. Day one, and that was it. We were that next day.
No, day two I wasn't feeling well. That's why.
Oh, day two I kept getting like, the way I treat you when you're sick.
I know you're not compassionate at all when I'm sick.
I'm not.
No mercy.
And I'm sorry. And I wish I was. But
you used to be when we first got married. You were really sweet.
But we were. I mean.
Yeah.
But also think about my stage of life when we first got married. I was working with your dad. I had a normal day job that I just showed up, did stuff, and came home. Right. Like that was it. Like there's nothing. But now when I'm running and operating stuff, there's planning and executing and foot in the door everywhere.
Let's make an agreement. If it's on a weekend and I'm sick, you have to be compassionate and nice.
Oh, now, how does it? Okay, so it doesn't matter. You could have gotten sick on the weekday, but then when it comes to the weekend, I have to switch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I could do that. I will give you that promise that I'll try to do that. Well, I'll give you that promise that I'll try to slow down on the weekends too.
I mean, I understand it. It's an inconvenience when somebody's sick and you have to now worry about taking the kids to school, figuring out stuff with Harper. Like, it's just, yeah.
But that's what you usually do during the during the day anyway. You know what I mean?
No, I'm saying you.
Oh,
when
with
I'm
me.
sick.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. Because now we put.
For me, I was sick and I still took the kids to school.
Still
did all the things.
Yeah, but.
So, I mean,
what?
I guess you could say
You're stronger than me.
Yeah, I'm stronger than you.
I think you're right, and I'm completely supportive of that. When I'm sick, I don't expect and actually really care for if people are empathetic to me or taking care of me. You know what I mean?
But don't we all to a certain point?
I think we want to be loved and we want to be cared for, especially when we're most vulnerable. I just want to be
acknowledged. Like, I'm sorry you're sick. Okay. Are you going to be okay?
Yeah. Okay. That's a different story. But like, to me,
I don't want to be like, I don't care to be taken care of either as much, but it's more like the acknowledgement of like, I'm so sorry you're sick. Can I snuggle you for 3 hours? Kind of thing.
3 hours.
That'd be my dream.
Is this how you operate? That it's like the world shuts down and I was like, be here. And listen, I don't want to be mean about it, but like when I'm sick, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 days to just lay and rest. And then I'm not depending, like going like, oh, can you make me some lunch? Like I'll Uber eat the crap out of it. Like I don't care. And then I'm shoving medicine down my throat left and right. Like the amount of vitamin C, D, zinc, Dayquil, everything, you name it, I took. I just kept gulleting it in. And because I knew that the more I do this, the quicker I'll get back on my feet.
But did you?
No. Was I working out 3 days later? Yes, I was. Should have I been working out 3 days later?
Probably not.
Now, but so I don't, to me is like if the obstacle of like taking the kids somewhere and like if that is taken off the table, then that is me like having an efficient sick day.
Yeah.
But when it's a prolonged thing and, I'm supposed to be working like this week, Kyle wasn't here. So a lot of the stuff I had to film and build on my own while being fatigued. That was miserable, right? Because I don't have the energy and now I'm doing 2 different jobs. That is like the worst time to be sick. You know what I mean? Is while working. But then when somebody else is sick, let's say like you're sick, because of how much go I have to like daily operations to do what we do here, when somebody's just kind of like snuggling me for 3 hours, I'm like, we're going to lose our house. we're gonna sell the cars.
But don't you want to make me feel better?
I'll give you the weekends.
Fine, 1 hour on the weekends.
1 hour on the weekends. I don't know. Am I being irrational? Am I being too cold?
I understand it, but I guess for me, it's not even the fact that you have to like, I get it, you have to work and stuff, but it's your coldness in your attitude.
Now, you know why the coldness towards the attitude? And I kind of thought about this. I think what ends up happening in my mind is when, and I know in my excuse defense, it's this perspective is shaped by not just sick days from you, but it's just, let's be honest, you don't like mornings, okay? And okay, I'm just gonna say that way. I'm not gonna say any worse than that. You don't like mornings, okay? And if I didn't have a terrible night's sleep, you know what I mean? Like enough coffee, I'll at least zone in. Even if I'm like zombied out, I'll be part of it. And so when I'm trying to run and I see somebody is trying to like walk and talk to me, that to me is
what?
What? Unpleasant.
Unpleasant.
It's unpleasant to me. So it's one thing if you only reserved that to like just sick days where you're like, dragging your feet.
But nobody's really like, you're not really a morning person until you get your coffee.
Yeah, but you're asleep when I'm in that transition.
I know, that's why it's not fair.
So
because you do it too, but you just do it earlier than me.
And so when you wake up,
half an hour earlier, whatever.
Half an hour earlier. By the way, last night, thank you for setting your alarm clock. I've been sleeping miserable. In fact, I sleep fantastic and I fall asleep fantastic. But the problem is, I wake up at 3 a.m. every single day, every single night. Weird. 3 a.m. And in fact, there's like a 30-minute window, either 30 minutes before or after. And I wake up wide awake. And then my brain's racing and and I've tried getting up. I'm like, well, if I'm wide awake and I got a solid 6 hours of sleep, I might as well go to work, right? So I get in the computer and I got in the computer, but then there's something that happens at like, in our like REM cycle in the mornings, like between like 4 and 5 a.m., something happens where we get the second kick of like sleepiness. And maybe it's just me, I don't know, but like I've had this multiple times. I'd wake up at 3, go to the computer, get a solid hour of work, and then my body's like shutting down. And I was like, I need to go to bed. My brain is getting like starting to hurt and it's getting tired, and I'll go back to bed. And so now I know that getting up is not an option. So I'm trying to slowly figure out, and I end up always falling back asleep around 5. Like yesterday, that's exactly what happened. I woke up at 3.
But then you wake up so tired.
I went to the bathroom. I went to get water. There's so many things like I'm trying to do, and I'll get in bed and I feel like, okay, I'm gonna fall asleep, and I don't. And I started focusing on breathing. Last night I started counting sheep, like all this stuff. And then lo and behold, I fall asleep at 5. And when that happens, I'm like, I'm gonna push my alarm clock to like 7:30 because my brain is, I'm gonna be a zombie if I don't. And what happens? Your alarm goes off at 7. You didn't get up at 7, and I couldn't fall back asleep for the extra 30.
It was 30 minutes. Actually, you got up at like 7:15, so it was 15 minutes.
Yeah, because I was in there trying to fall back asleep, and I couldn't fall back asleep.
And then I got up right after you, so
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Why was the alarm clock set for 7? You never get up at 7. Why? Every day you try, you put in that effort. Why not just 7 to 7?
The extra half an hour.
Well, that's
apparently.
fine. Well, why don't you put 7:30 and then just get up when that goes off?
Because every time I wake up at 7:30, I go, dang it, I should have woken up at 7.
But you still don't.
But I want to try.
So you're gonna ruin my sleep when I had a miserable
You're
2 hours
up by
of
6:30, so
yeah, that's if I slept.
But how am I supposed to know if you're gonna sleep well that night or not?
It's almost every night I don't sleep well. If I go to bed, I usually go to bed at 10:30.
I feel like it's gotten worse since you got sick.
I don't know if it's since I got sick or probably maybe.
Because Harper's been sleeping a lot better.
Well, except last night. She woke up again last night.
Did
she cried, yes. And I know.
Oh, no, that was in the morning. That was like at like 5.
Yeah, that's what time I fell asleep. Do you know how I actually have anxiety now? Every morning when my eyes are open.
You're like, oh no,
and I was like,
going to cry.
Well, first of all, the anxiety is I'm not going to fall asleep. And then it's, okay, it's been an hour. I haven't fallen back asleep. But well, probably in another 30 to 45 minutes, I'll probably fall back asleep. And I was like, oh, but what if she wakes up? And I swear. She does. It's so.
It's like clockwork with her. 5 to 5:30, she'll be in there kind of like whining. And then she'll fall back asleep. It's nice.
I've realized how important sleep is now. I used to not care about sleep. I used to have that mindset of like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Grind. Let's reset my sleep cycle.
Yeah.
But now all this research has come out.
Health-wise.
Well, research has come out right now how destructive not getting enough sleep, recovering sleep, that increase in cancer, increase in other comorbidities. It's related
to like everything.
Everything. And versus before, that information wasn't out.
Eating, sleeping well, they say, and drinking water. Those are the.
Oh my gosh. And so I eat well. I drink plenty of water. Now to me, it's like I need to figure out how to get sleep. I've actually been, air quote, doing my research of this neurology.
You look up one article.
There was like one article.
Apparently that's not research.
Yeah, well, in fact, how about this one? It wasn't an article. It was his Instagram account. There's this
even
brain
better.
doctor, from what's his name? I forgot. He was on Rogan. He's a neurologist, but he had a.
Does he have some? Maybe you should try.
He had a concoction. It's like a sleep. Thing he has. It's like there's magnesium.
Didn't one of your friends do it and he said it works?
I don't remember, but yeah, there's like a cocktail he makes of like magnesium sulfate or something like that, and a couple other things.
Try it.
I'm getting pretty close to it.
Don't they have like? I know they do this with kids. I was gonna say.
Melatonin.
No, it's like you like listen to something and it helps you like, but that's falling asleep.
But that's falling asleep.
Yeah,
I can.
You're staying asleep.
10 o'clock. I'll be
You're
out. I'm out, and I actually.
Yeah, you're usually snoring by the time I
dream,
take my bath and get in bed.
And I know it's not alcohol, so it's like sometimes like we'll have like a cocktail before bed or something like that, and it's not that, because from what I read is if alcohol is interfering with your sleep, you won't have any dreams because it numbs your prefrontal cortex. And so you don't have any. That's why those people who like get drunk, blackout drunk and pass out, they don't have any dreams. They're just and they're not in a deep sleep, but it's not a very sustaining sleep, and it's not a recovery sleep. So because our body's metabolizing alcohol.
You know what I think it is?
What?
Age. So this is why old people wake up at 4 a.m. and then go to bed at 8 p.m. because it's like something about aging.
I do wonder if it is. And the Huberman, that's the neurologist, Dr. Huberman. He was actually one of the things in his little article. He said,
Dr. Spaceman,
Spaceman.
Dr. Spaceman.
He said it's natural for you to wake up at in the middle of the night. Everybody does. And in fact, if you're listening to this...
Is it in between REM cycles that it's...
I don't know. But if you're listening to this and you feel like you live a pretty healthy lifestyle, I would love to hear in the comments on the YouTube, or I don't know if you can in this...
On the tube.
I want to hear your experience with your sleep cycles, because I want to find out if it is truly just like an age thing, or is this something that you could change in your life?
Maybe, yeah. I do think it's an age thing, because... we kind of got hit with both being in our 30s and then having a baby. So we can't, I think for us, we keep associating it with the baby thing because she's been waking up. But I do think it's just like once we hit our 30s, it was like, because we both do it. I wake up at 3 almost every night too.
Yeah, but you have no problem falling back asleep.
No, that's not true. Yeah. I just don't complain about it like you.
Got him.
Drop.
Got him. Well, we can't. It's on a boom here.
Sorry, can't drop it. Can I drop that one?
That's a good place to stop. That was really nicely done. I respect that. I appreciate it. I like a good burn. A well thought out burn is good.
That was not even thought out. That was like just on the...
It would have been funnier if you said, I don't bitch about it. Like,
that's true. Dang it. Can we go back a little?
No, it's fine. It'll be another time. All right, folks.
I'm going to keep that one in the back
Thanks
burner.
for listening to our Conspiracy Cuties part 2.
Part 2. Dang. Should we go through for the trifecta and do a third
trilogy?
This year?
Do a trilogy.
Trilogy.
All right, folks, thanks for listening. We'll see you tune in next week. Check us on YouTube. It's a lot more fun watching us on video. And follow our Instagram account, Next Door Neighbors. There's a period between each word. And please rate and review and share this podcast with your friends. It helps with the algorithm.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.